Welcome to my channel. Here's today's eerie story. In the remote foothills of the Sierra Madre Mountains in Mexico, there was a small village called Yerba Buena. It was isolated, with no schools, police, or churches, and the people lived in poverty and were mostly illiterate. About 20 families struggled to survive by farming and selling small grains and beans. But their peaceful life was about to be turned upside down. Far to the northwest, two brothers, Santos and Cayetano Hernandez, were notorious for their swindling ways, eluding law enforcement with ease. In early 1963, they hatched a sinister scheme, targeting the secluded village of Yerba Buena for a plan that would soon spiral into madness. But why Yerba Buena? We will get to that in a moment. The brothers arrived in Yerba Buena pretending to be ancient Incan prophets. They performed elaborate rituals with cannabis smoke and animal sacrifices, convincing the villagers that they had divine powers. They also promised the villagers the great treasures contained in the caves at the foot of the Sierra Madre, near their village. This promise, combined with the villagers' isolation and poverty, made it easy for the Hernandez brothers to deceive them. The brothers demanded the most beautiful young girls, under 18, claiming it was for a sacred purpose. The villagers, fearful of angering these supposed deities, complied. The girls were brutally assaulted by the brothers before being sent to border towns for sex trade. As time passed, skepticism brewed among some villagers as the treasures remained elusive, and the promised riches never materialized. The Hernandez brothers hatched a new plan and promised villagers to return with a goddess. They journeyed to Monterrey, the nearest large city, to find a prostitute. There, they met Magdalena Solis and her brother Eliezer. Magdalena, born in 1947 into a poor and dysfunctional family in Tamaulipas, had been involved in prostitution from a young age under Eliezer's control. She was also known for her claims of summoning spirits and fortune-telling. When the Hernandez brothers shared their scheme, Magdalena eagerly joined, and she, along with Eliezer, returned to Yerba Buena. That evening, the villagers witnessed an eerie ceremony. Magdalena was introduced through a dramatic smoke screen, and they were convinced she was the reincarnation of the Aztec goddess Coatlicue, mother of the moon and stars. Under Magdalena's reign, the cult's rituals grew increasingly macabre. Magdalena was bored of drug-induced trances and orgies. She began to develop severe psychosis along with sexual perversions, sadomasochistic tendencies, fetishistic practices, and pedophilia. She wanted something truly morbid. Magdalena invented a gruesome ritual inspired by Aztec human sacrifice. Victims were beaten, burned, and dismembered. Their blood was collected and mixed with cannabis and peyote. The ritualistic drinking of this blood was led by Magdalena, followed by the Hernandez brothers and cult members. The horrifying scene persisted for 6 weeks, with at least 6 people ritually killed. On a scorching May day in 1963, Guerrero, a 14-year-old boy, was exploring the caves beneath the Sierra Madre Mountains, intrigued by local legends of hidden treasures. As dusk approached, Guerrero noticed a flickering light coming from one of the caves. Curious, he quietly approached and peered inside. What he saw was beyond anything he could have imagined. Naked villagers from Yerba Buena were engaged in sexual activities, drinking from bowls filled with a dark liquid, and a woman stood above a dismembered corpse, holding a bloody human heart aloft. Paralyzed with terror, Guerrero fled the scene, running 15 miles non-stop to the nearest police station in Villa Gran. Initially, the police dismissed Guerrero's story of vampires having sex and drinking human blood inside the cave as a drug-induced delusion. However, the following morning, Inspector Luis Martinez accompanied Guerrero to the site, only to disappear without a trace. The police, now taking the matter seriously, enlisted military assistance. On May 31, 1963, a combined force of police and soldiers raided Yerba Buena, capturing Magdalena and Eliezer at a local farm, high on cannabis. Santos Hernandez was killed in a firefight. The villagers, believing their deity was under attack, fought back fiercely. but they could not resist the heavy firing of the soldiers and the police. Many were killed in the clash, and the survivors were taken into custody. Investigators uncovered the mutilated remains of 6 victims in the caves. Magdalena and Eleazar were sentenced to 50 years in prison for the murders, but due to lack of testimonies from other cult members, their guilt for additional killings could not be proven. Despite finding remains of 8 more people, police suspected up to 16 may have perished. Given the villagers' poverty and illiteracy, each was sentenced to a minimum of 30 years. The fate of Magdalena remains shrouded in mystery. Rumors suggest she either died in prison or lives incognito among the community. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like and subscribe. And remember, darkness is never far away. Until next time,